Hey guys, my name is INST6213-kmccants and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Test Teach. To be honest, one of the main reasons I chose this tool is because it was free to join, and right on the front screen it says lesson plans in 5 minutes. I mean, what else could you ask for as a teacher? But in playing around with the website and getting to know it a little bit better to do this presentation, I've learned that it's actually a really neat tool, and I'm excited to tell you some things about it. Okay, so let me go ahead and log in here. Okay, so right when you log in, you'll see that there's the dashboard, lessons, classes, and lessons library. Clicking on the dashboard, oops, it's a little sensitive. Clicking on the dashboard or Test Teach will always bring you back to this home screen. The home screen shows you the most recent lessons that you've added. It also has featured lessons, which is usually going to be things that are popular, a lot of people have searched for. It's going to also show you your classes over here as well. The Lessons tab brings up specific lessons that you've added and not just the most recent. So every lesson that you've added is going to be in here. Also, clicking here allows you to share without actually having to pull up the lesson. And then clicking on the settings button will let you, you can track the lesson, which will allow you to see who's commented on it, who's taken quizzes, and then also view those specific quizzes or view those specific comments. You can also delete and copy from here as well. Your Classes tab, of course, allows you to see your classes, Algebra 1 and Geometry, and then clicking on those classes lets you see exactly what you've shared with them and who's in the class. You can see I don't have any classes in here yet. And then the Lessons Library we'll come back to in just a second. That's how you can actually view lessons that are already available. Okay, so let's create a lesson. And I'll go back to my dashboard and just touch New Lesson. Okay, so I'll title it. Let's see, I want to do a lesson on solving by substitution, so I just name it Solving by Substitution. Okay, so you can see over here on the left-hand side where it will allow me to search YouTube, search Google Images, search Flickr, search for web pages, search for files that I have already saved on tests, my personal resources, my Google Drive. So lots of things that I can do over here. If I don't know exactly where I want to find it, I just want to see what's out there, then I can type solve by substitution and see what comes up. Now, I know that I want to start mine off with a comic strip. I like to find Foxtrots or Garfields or something like that that kind of tie into my lesson when I can. So I'm going to search for solve by substitution comic and see what comes up. And to narrow it down, I'm going to search in Google Images so that it only shows me images. And I like this when it's colorful. It looks already like it's probably going to be funny. So I can just simply drag it and drop it over here to my, sometimes this is called a blend space. Sometimes it's called a lesson plan. I've watched a few different webinars and it's called different things, but all is talking about basically your tiles. And so now I want to see if there are any videos. So I'll look for solve by substitution videos on YouTube. And I see solve by elimination. I see solve by substitution. So I'm going to drag that and drop it into my lesson. And then there was one that I really like to show anytime I can see. There's a high school that usually does like a rap. Let me see if there's a solve by substitution rap. That is really, here's one. I like to show this to my kids. They think it's corny, but you know, sometimes corny is fun. So I'm going to actually show that before my Khan Academy video. So now I've got something to kind of introduce them to the lesson, something to kind of get them excited about it. And now I'm going to teach them the lesson with this. So I could stop my lesson right there. If all I wanted to do was just introduce it, I could stop there and then go on with my teaching. Or if I wanted to insert a quiz, I can click where it says add quiz, and it will let me type in a question. I could type in solve the following system of equations by substitution. I can put in, it gives for 2 answers. I could click to add an answer where I could give them 4 choices if I wanted to. And then I would just select the one that I want to be the right answer and click done. In this case, I don't have any questions, so it's going to make me delete, which is okay, but you get the idea. Once I'm finished with the lesson, I simply touch share, and now it gives me the option to share with my geometry students. I could share it with my Algebra 1 students. I can collaborate if I want for me and the Algebra 1 teacher down the hallway to be able to work on the same lesson. I can click collaborate, and it'll give her a link, and now she has access to work on the same lesson that I'm working on. I can also embed it in Google Classroom, Twitter, Facebook, and email it. So it gives me the option. Sorry, the touch screen's a little sensitive. It gives me the option to share it with the whole class as a way of teaching, as a teaching tool. I can use it for intervention for students who did poorly on a test, as a way for them to reteach and relearn the subject. I can use it for a student who was absent if I could find a video that is similar to the way that I taught it. So lots of different ways that I can use my lesson once I've created it. Okay, so that's how I would create a lesson from scratch. It will also let me, if I come back home and go to my lessons library, it will also let me search lessons. And you can see here, it's got some different math and science, some things that are popular. But I could also come here and type up a lesson if I wanted to teach a lesson on, let's say, graphing linear functions. And I could search and see what's already been created. And I'm just going to haven't looked at any of these in particular. But let's say I wanted to go with this one. Well, let's go with this one. Okay, so you can see it pops up with some stuff already in there. It's got some videos. It's got some objectives. It has homework. And so I can see that this may not work exactly for me. It's good. It's got some stuff I can use, but it's not exactly going to work. I don't know what page T9 is. I don't have that in my book. But it won't let me edit it in this screen. So what I can do is copy it and change it. Instead of saying copy of graphing linear equations, it'll just say graphing linear equations. And now I can tweak this how I want to. If I don't want to have 2 videos, I could delete this one. Well, let me go back. I'm sorry. Okay, I can delete this video. So now it's not on my slide anymore. It's empty, and I could just move everything else over. Or I could add a quiz here instead, or a discussion question for the students to talk about. But once I've copied it, I can do with it whatever I want to do with it. And I can do that there are so many different lessons. I even noticed that it's not necessarily subject related. I looked for, in my homeroom class last year, I had to do a little presentation on cyberbullying. And so you can see that I searched to see if there was anything out there on cyberbullying. And there is. There's already lots of different lessons, and some of them have videos, and some of them are just different images. But again, resources already piled together where I can pick and choose what will help me in my presentation for that homeroom class if I had to do it again this year. So as you can see, there's lots of different things that you can do with it. The last thing I wanted to show you that I thought was really neat was in the tips. So you've seen how you can create a lesson and how you can take somebody else's lesson, but in the tips, it gives you some ideas of what other people have used this test teach for, and it's got some different stories from students and teachers, how they've used it. And then down here, it's got 15 ideas to motivate students. And I thought that some of these were really neat. My favorite ones was the class jukebox. And when you pull it up, it tells you exactly what it is. So class jukebox is just a way where you can get the students involved, and you can ask each student to submit maybe their favorite song. And of course, you'll screen them to make sure that they're appropriate. And then once you do that, then you could use it as background music in study hall, or if the students are playing a game of bingo and you want to play in the background, you could have them submit their favorite relaxing study music, some kind of classical jazz or something, and let that play during a quiz or a test, but where the students feel like they have helped to create the classroom environment. So I thought that was neat. Another one I liked was the smorgasbord. And smorgasbord basically gives you several different tiles that relate to your lesson, and you allow the students to dictate the order in which you teach the lesson. You may call on Johnny and say, what slide do you want to do first? And he picks slide number 3. And it may be a discussion topic. And then once you finish with discussion, you may pick Sally. Sally, what lesson do you want to, which slide do you want to see? She picks number 1, and it's a TED Talk video. So you've already selected the content, knowing that whichever one they pick is going to get your point across. But the students, again, are interacting in the classroom and staying involved with the method and manner in which you teach. And then the last one, like I said, there's 15, but these are just 3 that really stood out to me. And I like this competition time because I enjoy good competition, and the kids really do too. And so this one is neat. It's where you pop up, maybe 10 or 15 different questions, enough to last the whole period or half the period, however you want to do it. And you can let it be like a review, separate the classroom into teams. Team 1 picks a tile, answer the question. Team 2 picks a tile, answer the question. They trade off back and forth. And let's say every correct answer is worth 2 points. At the end of the lesson, you tally up who's got the most points, and maybe they get a free homework pass or 3 points added on to their to the next test. But so neat ways to use the test teach in addition to creating your lesson. Okay, so thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and hopefully you know a little bit more about test teach than you did before we started. And you are already thinking about ways that you can implement it into your classroom. And one thing that's neat that I've learned from readings from some customers and some praises about test teach is that a lot of people who use it aren't necessarily in the classroom. So you may be an administrator or you may be in special ed, but there's lots of tools on here that you can use for whatever it is that you do in education, as far as presenting professional development or communicating with your teachers and things like that. So don't feel like it's only for teachers. It's for anybody to use in the education field. So thank you again, and I am looking forward to listening to your cool tool presentations and learning more about some fun things I can use in my classroom.